All right, good morning. Welcome in New Year's Eve, 2025. That makes it December 31st, 10 a.m. This is live stream number 130. So we made it to 130 live streams since launching the live stream sometime in July, I think that was. So solid. This time next year, there'll be a lot more. So we're just going to keep on this train, keep it rolling. Obviously, we're in the quiet time of the year right here, so it's going to probably be a brief show, mostly driven by chat questions and things like that. Talk a little bit about Okamoto. He's got his deadline coming up. We'll talk a little bit about Kirby Yates getting signed, Hunter Harvey with the Cubs. I'm not going to get into too much rumor mill talk about Ketel Marte, but obviously there was some stuff yesterday. Mike Hazen said that one way or another, they're going to make a decision here pretty soon, whether they're shipping him out or whatever they're doing. I don't know. A little interesting that he even commented on it, to tell you the truth. But yeah, that's where we're at here on New Year's Eve. Probably get the guests back pumping pretty steadily once we get into like the first week of January, like next Monday, and then we'll probably go from there. All right. Oh, this is for Spectre. That was in the chat. All right. It is it's cold. We have some hoodies coming in that are going to be on in the shop in January. That'll be the new item in there, and I could use a hoodie right now. Got this sweater on, but it's chilly today. All right, let's get into it. Expect it to be a pretty light show overall, so let's just get into it. Brett making all the good comments today. All right. So first of all, let's just do Kirby Yates first, and then we'll do like a winter ball check-in. We'll kick it around a little bit. We'll see what you guys want to chat about, and we'll just get there. So number one is the Angels. Now I said this a while back. This is very on brand for the Angels, and they've actually leaned in even harder this year. So Kirby Yates signs, had a rough year last year with the Dodgers, had some injury issues, and that was after coming off of one of the all-time great seasons, honestly, with Texas, where he had a minuscule ERA of like a 1-something, which we'll all get into in a minute. And then last year didn't go quite according to plan. He's an old fart, not quite as old as me, but he's going to be 39 this next season, so he's definitely in that, he's in that area where it's no joke anymore. But he's not the same, and any one little thing, and they'll have you believing that you're done. So this is a big year for him. He gets this bounce back opportunity with the Angels, who are going all out with these reclamations and with these 1 years and just doing as much as they can to just throw as many major leaguer quality players onto the roster, especially in this bullpen. So just in the last, couple months, they added Drew Pomeranz on a 1 year. They added Jordan Romano on a 1 year. Those are both interesting candidates and interesting acquisitions in their own right. Jordan Romano is like a huge bounce back candidate. Had been a former closer, struggled a lot with the Phillies last year. We went over him a little bit. Drew Pomeranz had been out of the game for a bunch of years. He actually pitched really well for the Cubbies last year. He's sneaky getting old, which is crazy because I always think of Drew as a really young guy, being that I played with his older brother, Stu, and I've also played with Drew back when he was a very young pup with the Rockies. I guess I had a little bit more service time than him at the time, but I don't know. I think of him as a young player. Now he's 37. And now they have Kirby Yates. And it's not just the bullpen guys. They did it in the rotation as well. Grayson Rodriguez, that's an interesting trade. I actually think they might have won that trade. Time will tell. They have definitely the opportunity to win that trade. And then Alek Manoah, another major reclamation situation, former top 3 in the Cy Young race finisher when he was with the Jays back in, I believe, 21. I think he was also pretty good in 22. And then the wheels kind of fell off a little bit after that. So this is what the Angels are doing. They have a very interesting team. Very interesting team. They traded Taylor Ward off the team. That's how they got Grayson. Um, just getting my brain refreshed on the Angels. Neto, Shanuel, Trout, Adele, Soler, Ohapi, Grissom, Moore, Tedioso. They have such a tantalizing talent group in the lineup, but with just huge red flags all over it with swing and miss and bad defensive value and things like that. But if everything clicks, they could hit a ton of home runs between Trout, Adele, Soler, Ohapi, Christian Moore. Vaughn Grissom's an interesting guy to get over there. He's kind of had a lost year and a half, 2 years with the Red Sox. Let's see how he um, comes back out of it. But it's also just a little indicative of where the Angels are as a franchise. Perry Manassian's on a last year of his contract. They bring in Kurt Suzuki, gets the unprecedented 1 year contract as manager. So all these players are on 1 year contracts. They're very year to year at this point. This could work. This is like sort of like you've been beaten up for 11 rounds in a heavyweight bout, and you have the 12th round, and you know you're going to lose the fight on points, and you're like, let's just go out swinging here, throw some haymakers. Maybe we make this thing interesting. Maybe you can knock somebody down. So in a way, you know, why not? I mean, that's kind of where they're at, but it's very indicative just of the front office situation, ownership situation, and all that type of stuff. I mean, it's been turbulent to say the least, not to mention the Skaggs trial. They just cut bait with Anthony Rendon. I guess they're still paying him all the money. You knew he was going to get all the money. Um, but now it's deferred over 3 to 5 years. That gives them a little bit of immediate salary relief if they want to continue to do some more things. I think both sides are just sick of each other at this point. He gets to go move on. Interesting. It was said that he was not retiring, Rendon, which I find fascinating because it just seems like he's done, but apparently not officially retiring. I guess if you retire, I don't know. I guess there's probably some legal stuff with that. I'm going to look at him in a second. Anyway. All right. Rendon, just to take a quick pivot. I mean, this is the Angels' career, man. Somehow 5 years with the Angels, only 3.9 WAR, only played 257 games total. I think that's less than a quarter of the games he could have suited up for. He was sneaky really good. The first year when he got there, it was the Mickey Mouse year, but 2.2 WAR with a 915 OPS. Then he got hip surgery, I believe, after that, and it's been horrible ever since. So they get rid of him. They kind of move on. And then now they're in the situation where they're doing the 1 year things. All right, so let's go look at Kirby Yates himself. Hawaiian, one of the great personalities in the game. But you see the contrast in the last 2 years on the results. 1.17, which is insane, ERA in 2024, closing for the Rangers. Him and D-Rob, David Robertson, were a great duo at the back end that year. 61 and 2/3 innings, 85 strikeouts that year with a .83 whip. This year, obviously, the numbers are not the same. 5.23 ERA in 50 games. 41 and a third, 52 punchies, so still striking some guys out. I guess we'll look at the rate stats on that, and a 1.33 whip. He didn't really qualify for a lot, but we have some info here. Expected ERA, didn't like his work. He's never really been working with a lot of fastball velo, but it's a lot less than league average, 26th percentile. They didn't hit him very hard. He did fine on chase. That's a big part of his game, is that split below the zone. And he's still striking a lot of guys out with whiff. The issue is too many walks, too many barrels, and he doesn't get ground balls. So when his hard hit kind of backed up this year, a lot of that was in the air. You know, it's another one of these guys that it's a very simple approach. It's a 2-pitch approach. This has been him since the Padres, when he really figured it out. I guess he learned some of his split stuff from Tanaka back in the day. And then once he figured it out, he was kind of a force to be reckoned with. Let me go look at him on reference real quick, just so you guys get a little bit of a sense of how dominant he has been through 3 years of his career. There's 3 years that are just stupid, and then the rest is more good than great, but there's 3 years that are stupid great. And if they were all in consecutive order, I mean, you'd be looking at a peak or something. But anyway, 2 of them are. This is the first one I'm talking about. Age 31 in 2018 for the Padres. 65 games, 2.1 WAR that year, 63 innings with 90 punchies and only 17 walks. It's just a tremendous year. 13 strikeouts per 9, 2.4 walks per 9, only 5.9 hits per 9. Really, really good. Then he comes back the next year and is even better. In 2019, 60 games with a 119, 41 saves. So Brad Hand had been the closer in 2018. He got dealt away. He was also incredibly dominant. People forget for the Padres, back-to-back 100 strikeout seasons. I've mentioned how the 100 strikeouts in the bullpen is a big deal. That's a big separator in terms of overall dominance. So he was even better on a runs level the next year, punching out 101 in 60 and 2/3 that year, which is 15 strikeouts per 9. Pretty astonishing shit. Then the next year, 2020, gets hurt. It looks like doesn't play all of 2020 or 2021, but coming off of those 2 years, I believe he was with Toronto. And they signed him to good money. He never really played for them. Resurfaced with the Braves, kind of got himself back on track. And then he had another one of those massive years again at 37 with Texas, 1.17. So this guy's put up a 1.19 one year and a 1.17 this year in 24. Those are absurd years. I mean, so anyway, you see the ability when he gets dialed in. And when his game works, which is kind of a low release, upshoot four seam with a really good split off of it, when it works, it's pretty hard to break it. Let's look at a split with some depth to it.
Running some of the lack of hitting with runners in scoring position. Rojas stabs it.
You know, and a big part of his game is just getting you to swing at balls below the zone. And then once he has you slowed down, that fastball really plays. There's a really good split right there. I feel like it's sort of similar to Gosman's grip and effect. Just kind of comes out, drops off the table. And one thing that's interesting about Kirby that I like, I think, is that his velocity has never really been a huge part of his game. I mean, he obviously threw a little bit harder at some point. But, I mean, since his breakout, I guess it's been steadily declining. This is starting to become a little bit of an issue. But look, even in 2024, only 35th percentile fastball velocity and still had an incredible season. So, I don't know that he relies that much on velocity. I mean, I think it's part of it, but it's not everything. The big thing is this chase rate stuff. I mean, he was good last year. When he's at his best, it's almost impossible not to swing at balls off of him. So I just think his command was a little off. I think maybe the role, the new setting with the new team. Then he had some injury stuff. So tough year. Overall, individually, they do win the World Series. He was not really a part of the postseason. But I bet he was still really good vibes in that clubhouse no matter what. First pitch strikes, 60%, so right around league average. Man, he got an incredible swing percentage last year, overall swing percentage, over 50% swing percentage. Usually a really good place to be when you create so much whiff and chase. But like I had years in the 30s of swing percentage where people would just stand there. But that's interesting that he still had that many walks, so that high of a swing percentage. I mean, his zone contact percentage didn't change at all from 24 to 23. It's still exceptionally low, right? 71%. Yeah, league average is 82.5 on in-zone contact. For his career, he's only allowing 73% in-zone contact in the last 2 years, an identical 71.4. Like, that's pretty good. So that's very encouraging. The issue is they swung more in the zone, so he wasn't freezing as many of these guys. I think overall, the approach was to swing more against Kirby and not get to 2 strikes, and that's what hurt him. He's going to have a hard time getting ahead. He's just so deadly with 2 strikes. I feel like they didn't let him get there as much past year, and that's maybe something to look out for. In terms of roles with the Angels, be curious how this all plays out. Stevenson's the guy getting paid the most money, so he's dialed in at the closer, but I don't think he's going to be the closer. I think Kirby's going to be the closer if he looks good. And then I think you'll be able to use Stevenson and Pomeranz and Brock Burke kind of in like those fireman matchup roles. Get a clean inning for Romano, or Zephyr John's sneaky pretty good too. And it's not a bad bullpen on 1 year situation. Hello.
Hi. Hi, can I give you Boo Boo?
Yeah, you can give me Boo.
Because Davis wants to go detail the car.
Oh my God.
Wake him up.
You're waking him up for that?
He told me to.
He's gonna say it's not worth it now.
The chat and I decided we're getting a cat named Bean.
Oh, okay.
Like coffee beans.
Coffee beans, ooh.
Yes. And then we're getting a dog.
Well, I know we're getting a dog, but a dog and a cat might be a lot.
And a cat.
All right, well, here's Boo. Hello.
Boo, say hi, everybody.
All right, so Boo's gonna chill with me. We will continue the show. You go wake up that boy. Okay. My nephew's over here. He's convincing us to pay him to detail her car because he's trying to save up for something. So I said, fine, except it's freezing outside, and the quality of your job will be the quality of your pay. So we'll see how good he does, or if he even wakes up, considering it's 10:16. All right. Yeah, we're solving all of my life problems in the chat. So anyway, what was I saying about this bullpen? It's going to be interesting to see how this team looks. I mean, there's not a lot of slam dunk awesomeness, but there's a pretty good chance that one of, Stevenson, Pomeranz, Yates, Romano, Zephyrjohn becomes elite this season again, or for the first time in a case like Zephyrjohn. Like, that could happen. A big wild card with this team, and I don't know where he's at because he hasn't played in a while, is this dude, Ben Joyce. My man throws 103 with ease. He's got huge potential. I thought when he switched to being a primary sinker guy in 2024, early in the count, that unlocked a whole different level for him. He's going to be hard to square up at that velocity with his arm side run. And then if he gets ahead of you, he can go four seam up top, and it's game over. He doesn't even have to throw breaking balls, really. But torn labrum is no joke. He got surgery or injured, I'm not sure which one, in May. So that would be nice if he was back, but he's not going to be back. And I don't think that they're going to be a good team. I think ultimately this will fail. But this is what they've been doing, and it's interesting to watch, and Kirby is the latest one. And I was wondering who they were going to get. We looked at the relievers on the roster resource the other day that were available in free agency, and it's just everybody's excited because a lot of these guys got signed early, but there's still so many capable arms and names out there. Kirby was the next one, probably. Hunter Harvey also got signed by the Cubs. We'll look at that in a moment. But Pierce Johnson, Evan Phillips is an interesting one. Barlow's been quality for a while. Suter's been sneaky quality for a while. He's just hard to hit. Jacob Webb, I believe, just got signed, right? And then there's others. I mean, there's a whole page 2 here. I mean, Tommy Canley, Liam Hendrick's going to play for somebody, Lou Trevino, Scott Efros, Paul Sewald. Michael Kopech could be a sneaky guy who gets actually some money. Hunter Strickland was better than people think last year. Ian Hamilton's not bad. There's dudes in here. If D-Rob decides to play, he'll always be wanted. Joe Ross, like a swingman, he struggled last year. Poche, teams love that fastball with the ride. Presley, I don't know if he's still playing. So again, the names just go on and on and on. Derek Law, who's been a guy who's sneaky, thrown a lot the last couple years and been pretty good, I believe. Lang already signed with the Royals, right? Who did I just say? I just had a name there that I was curious about. Damn it. I closed it? God. Come on, brain. Oh, it was down here somewhere. Oh, I mean, Chad Green. Oh, no, I was curious about Derek Law. A couple years ago, 2 years ago, he had a really interesting season for the Nationals in 24. Yeah, he didn't pitch last year, I guess. Hard to believe. I mean, I know his results completely backed up when he went to Arizona that year in the trade, but 75 games, 90 innings out of the pen, under 3 ERA, that's elite. That's elite stuff. So Derek Law, I don't know what his situation is, but he was a little better than people realized 2 years ago with the Nats, is my point. So there's always dudes. That's why the Angels go ahead and they grab Kirby Yates, they grab Drew Pomeranz, they grab Jordan Romano. This is their attempt to build out their roster this season, particularly in the bullpen. All right, that's about it for the Angels part of this. And Kirby, we all know about Kirby, fastball split, blah, blah, blah. Where will Verlander end up? Good question. Good question. Let's see. So JV was with the Giants last year. I can't imagine him playing for a non-contender at this point. So he'd have to be like 1-year deal. You know, honestly, wonder if Detroit's an option. They're trying to win. I don't know that they're going to want to spend the type of money he's accustomed to getting paid. But if there's one thing that JV is still probably could be pretty good at, it would be covering innings, and they don't really have a lot of guys that cover innings. Right now they have Drew Anderson as the 5 starter. You know, Reese Olson, Casey Mize, Jack Flaherty, and Scoobs. Who knows what happens there? I think it would be fun for him to go back to the Tigers, you know, being a Tigers legend and everything. Don't know if that'll actually happen, but that pops into my head. Other than that, I don't know. Maybe the Cubs. Who else needs starters? That's like sort of a contender. Can probably pay $10 million or whatever he needs to play with. I don't think he's taking any of these guys' jobs right now. I mean, maybe Colin Ray could go back to the pen, but I also think the Cubs are looking to make more of a splash here if they make a signing. So maybe they're not really a good Verlander fit. I was just about to say Tigers. Tarek is doing this Detroit sports tour almost like he's staking his claim in Detroit. Well, I mean, they have to pay him. I mean, he should get $400 million or whatever it is. So, and then yeah, I would rather have paid JV rather than Drew Anderson as the 5 starter in Detroit. Okay, so we're on the same page with Detroit. We got a Baltimore suggestion here that they just signed Eflin for $10 million. That's kind of wondering like what JV is asking for. You know, he's made probably the most money of any player, any pitcher ever. Him and Scherz, right? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If they didn't sign Eflin, he would have made a lot of mistake. I mean, he would have made a lot of sense. Okay, do the Mets bring him back? I don't see David bringing back Verlander. Personally, doesn't seem like his cup of tea for me, but I don't know. I'm really curious if anything happens with Kodai Senga or if the Mets are in on Imai, because that has to be decided in a day or two. But I mean, I know that Steve Cohen and those types of people at the top had a good relationship with JV, and he would probably welcome being in New York. But I don't know. I don't know how they're looking at this. So JV still can get you some innings. That's valuable to a team like the Tigers, have a lot in their bullpen. See, this is how I feel about it. I think the Tigers is kind of a sneaky good fit. I don't know about financially, but a sneaky good fit for a lot of reasons, not just the feel-good reasons. Baltimore is the most arm-deficient quality team. Agreed, but I think they need a better arm. I think they have like Dean Kramer, Zach Eflin. A couple of these guys are on Baltimore. Did we just look at them? Yeah, right. Getting licked a lot by this dog. I mean, Boz is like could be. Rogers, I don't think you still don't know what you have. So like Bradish is like the really high upside arm on this team. Maybe Boz could be in that category. I think they need I think they could benefit from a little bit more personally. And yes, JV's career earnings $410 million. So he's used to being rich. He took a helicopter for a rehab start to and from New York, Binghamton, the city to Binghamton, pitched, left during the game, helicopter back. That is grande league status. That is Hall of Fame stuff. All right. I don't think JV really. No, he did. It was just such a disappointing year. He was happy though. He was just disappointed that it was such a disappointing year. Got to remember, he got hurt right out the gate. When everybody started getting traded, he was like, "Oh man, like we were just getting used to being here." So I don't think that he disliked his stint. You're talking about Jackson Holiday here, Spectre? He's still so young. I agree. O's need an ace. Wow, you don't think the Mets need any pitching moves? I disagree. I think they need more quality in the rotation, more high-end quality. I mean, they have enough to roll out the team, and I also think definitely need that outfield, spot figured out, left field or center field. But I think they need a high-end pitcher personally. Do I think there's any chance Amai doesn't sign? I mean, yeah, there's a chance, but he seems pretty hell-bent on coming over, and it seems like, for me, from having watched him, from having scouted him, like he's a major leaguer, no doubt. He could be a high-end major leaguer, so some teams kind of want to utilize that, right? I'd be stunned if he doesn't sign, but yeah, it's possible. It's definitely possible. Okay, let me go back to this off-topic one. Do you think they'll sign a pitcher who is not coming off injury or currently hurt? Yeah, I mean, I saw they were connected to like like Kopech, who's an interesting one. I'm not sure how Buster looks at this. Looking at the pitching situation for the Giants. So they made the move for Adrian Hauser, and I think they like Landon Roop. I'm not sure. I didn't watch enough of Wei Tang. I mean, he's a 27-year-old, basically rookie. I don't think he's blocking anybody, but you got to like the Logan Webb, Robbie Ray top. They do need more pitching, though. I would agree. Even in the bullpen, it's really been cut down a lot after those trades last year. I mean, Ryan Walker should bounce back to being elite, but if you had your druthers, you wouldn't have him closing. So I thought maybe Kenley could have been a fit here. That didn't happen. The pitching is light. I think the pitching is very light for this team. Yeah, for the San Francisco Giants, I think you're right though. They have signed some injury guys. Like Foley is another one. He might make a big impact on this team. Jason Foley, if he's right. Sucks that Randy Rodriguez at Tommy John. He was obviously the most electric guy they had last year. But this pitching's a little light. This is not a San Francisco Giants pitching staff, in my opinion. They always are typically very, very good in pitching. But outside of those top couple spots, it's not that impressive relative to some of the others around the league. I do like what they're starting to have in their lineup. Adames, Devers, Chapman, Ramos, and then who knows about Eldridge? He's an interesting prospect. That's like, that could be something. Matos hasn't done shit yet. Casey Schmidt's been a little underwhelming as well. Patrick Bailey has not hit at all, but he can definitely field, so you have a spot for him. I know they have some guys coming. I don't know. They're an interesting team. They should be on the upswing, but I feel like they got to get a better pitcher. They got to get a better pitcher in here. That would up their ceiling a little bit for sure. So just looking at it from that side of things. Tank can barely get out of the third inning. See, I haven't watched a ton of him, but it speaks to his age and amount of service time that, yeah, he probably, unless he's an incredible late bloomer, I don't think so. All right, here's a good comment from Maya. When Tyler Rogers was traded to the Mets this year, Verlander told him how much he was going to like the org. See, I think Verlander liked the Mets a lot. I remember because he was sort of working out this trade back to Houston with Jim Crane, like kind of in the background, because he had a relationship with Jim Crane, the Astros owner. And he didn't go back there because they weren't willing to pay him the $43 million or whatever the Mets gave him for those couple years or whatever that contract was, 2 years, 43 each. Anyway, he was dead set on being here. I know the wife wanted to be here. I know the family was happy in New York, all that. And then it was like blown up in half a year. I remember him being like very torn about the whole thing, like not knowing what to do, but also understanding like, well, my career, who knows? I got to win. So he ended up going back to Houston. But I don't think if it wasn't Houston, I think he would have ended up staying. And then I don't know what they do with that salary. I mean, they were definitely pushing him out the door to try to get their hands on some of those trade assets and try to reset. Personally, what I want for the most for the Mets is a guy who's going to go throw 5 or 6 innings, take some pressure off the pen, even if he's putting up around an ERA around 4 to 5. The thing is with the Mets strategy, they're never going to let a pitcher pitch 5, 6 innings if he's putting up about a 4 or a 5 ERA. Like, they're not going to like be okay with that. So you need a better pitcher. Otherwise, there's just no point. Like, they're more of the modern style of like, oh, you've thrown 5 innings, you've allowed 1 run, but the third time of the order's looming, so we're going to pull you out of there. So it's just doesn't the idea of having a guy who eats innings is a good idea, but ultimately, I don't think the way they run the club it's going to work unless he's like actually good, and so it's a little bit of an issue. Just trying to grab somebody who's going to throw 5 or 6 innings. Joey Votto would be a great guest. I mean, I don't know Joey, but I think as this show grows, and I'm pretty confident it'll grow a lot during this next season, I think then I can start reaching out to people I don't know, and I think it'll be more attractive or whatever, but we'll see. And then Bassett. So Bassett is a guy who's kind of more on the edge of that, what we were just talking about, like definitely an innings eater guy, but also a guy with a little bit more upside. I know that his years haven't been incredible the last 2 years, but for lack of better comparison, like David Peterson is kind of that guy that exists on this roster now, where he's not like a dominant pitcher, but he did pitch deeper into the games. You know what I mean? Like than some of the other guys, but we all saw how they didn't trust him to pitch at the very end. So, I agree though they do have a little bit of a length issue. I just don't know where they're getting it because they're not going to allow a mediocre pitcher to go deep. So Clay Holmes, Manaea is a huge factor, and then whatever happens with Kodai. But they also have all these young guys. They have more depth than you realize. That's where I think the impact, if they were going to make it on the rotation, should be towards the top. It's just that this regime seems allergic to signing guys for a lot of money that pitch. So impossible to know how it will shake out. And we'll just have to wait and see. I do think that the front office will stay pretty convicted in their belief that one of these depth type guys or guys that aren't getting paid the big bucks will pop into an elite pitcher. And then they'll stay convicted on that, and they might be proven right, they might be proven wrong. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess. All right, let me get in the chat here for a sec. Looking at what the Mets are doing, should start with the building out of their farm system. That's what they've been doing. I mean, that's what they've been doing this whole time. And that's why the farm system's really good. You look at guys like Tong, Sproat, McLean, Benj, Williams, all the infielders that they have. There's some others. It's a pretty good group. It's a pretty good group that might have multiple guys that become solid Mets. I miss Bartolo. So this was like much more of a thing, back in those days. What was he with the Mets, like 2014, 15, 16-ish? In those days, like they still managed a little bit more for the innings eater. It's just you just don't see it as much anymore. They don't let guys take their lumps. Like they just get them out of there and they keep rotating it through. Feels like a lot of teams are afraid of the third time around the order nowadays, which leads me to believe long relievers become more prominent, but so far I've been wrong. Yeah, it's because they instead of having like a designated long guy that they think is good and they trust, it's like they just recycle those roster spots. So if a guy pitches like 3 innings to cover innings, then he's out and a new fresh arm's in there the next day who can do it if the shit hits the fan the next day, or if they're blowing a team out the next day, all in an effort to protect that small hive of trusted guys. That's how it works. Ideally, you would get a guy out of that group to pop and become a real dude, and then he moves up in the pecking order and he doesn't become as much of a roster churn. But it's just like they get these sheets that are called the runway basically, and it tells you like the projected how everybody's projected to do against everybody, first time through the order, second time through the order, third time through the order, and then compared to a reliever, first time facing that guy that night. And like the numbers just are going to point you to making the pitching change most of the time. So that's just a philosophical change in the game. And it's not only philosophical, it's looking at the cold, hard data. So that's pushing you in that direction. But I think there's obviously a place for feel within that. And the best managers have that. Oh, and then this guy's coming back too. My guy, Christian Scott. So this is a forgotten guy. Great question here. Non-generian. Another guy who, I think he might have been, honestly, Tommy John before he got to the big leagues. Like he was already headed there. But this guy has good shit. Good kid. I'm a believer in him. I think he's got a shot to stick as a starter. I don't know exactly when he comes back. He got surgery in 24, so at some point this year. It's a power sweeper, above average speed, 83.2 on his sweeper, with a very lifty profile on it. A lot of guys kind of scoop under them. And on top of that, he's got pretty good velocity, and he was a guy who was willing to learn. I have a feeling he's going to come back with 2 fastballs, with maybe a better version of this splitter. And I think he's got a chance to be really, really good in terms of arm talent. He's good, and I also thought that his poise was outstanding. That rookie year, and there was a lot to be encouraged about. For a first run through, it's not bad, especially with an elbow I think that ached for the last 5 or 6 starts here. 9 games, 47 and a third, 39 punchies, 1.20 whip is fine. Like the walk percentage is good. He's going right at guys, 6.1%. So he comes back with a brand new elbow, probably a new pitch. He's definitely been getting those mental reps in, watching McLean. I mean, everybody's going to be learning from McLean because McLean already has a lot of feel and figured a lot of shit out. And people are going to gravitate to that really fast. Like, oh, can I do that? Can I learn how to do that stuff? And Christian would be an interesting guy to watch him a little bit as well. What's his spin rate? Yeah, it's a low spin. So he's more of in the Sproat category of spin rate, but still the pitch mix, he should probably learn to throw a sinker. And I bet they will pretty quickly. Let me see his active spin. 95% on the 4-seam, so it'd be more of a runner, but I wouldn't mind that. Anyway, I really like his sweeper. I think the sweeper is a very good pitch. And this is another guy that a lot of people are forgetting about. He also has this thing going for him. Good extension, so that fastball plays even better. What did his fastball average when he was up? 94.2. Solid. That's going to play above average with that extension. It's going to play above average. So I think he's going to basically be a dominating guy versus righties. We'll see how he does versus lefties with this package. And if not, he'll end up being a pretty good reliever because he's got a killer instinct out there too, which I like. So anyway, that's my quick thoughts on Christian Scott. Thanks for pumping that question in there. We'd love to see David Robertson come back to the Yankees. Man, for a 3rd time or a 4th time or whatever it is, it's just crazy. He's 41 years old. Still a good pitcher. Wasn't as good with the Phillies in this little run. I don't know if he's still going to keep going or not. Maybe he's going to look to do the same thing again. Considering he hasn't signed, we haven't heard anything. But at some point, he's going to stop playing. Legendary pitcher. So we do these on the Discord. In the Discord, I pump it out almost every day. We could knock some out on here for sure when we're in a lull. I mean, we're kind of in a lull now. I'm very excited to watch McLean pitch as well too. I'm excited to watch that first inning, first game, even in spring training, and just be like, oh yeah. It wasn't a mirage. Like this guy's the real deal, and he's just gonna be going on a friggin' upward trajectory like crazy, you know. All right, a full season of Tong would be very cool too. I mean, I don't think he's going to be up in the big leagues the whole year, but I think we're going to get plenty good look at Jonah Tong, see how he does, what his adjustments are, and all that. All right, we're done with the chat for a moment. Let's go look at Hunter Harvey, who signed with the Cubs. This is an interesting signing just because he throws hard, and the Cubs don't really have a lot of that. So now Palencia is the other really hard thrower. And then you throw in Hunter Harvey into this mix, who at times has been a 100-mile-an-hour guy. He's got a split. He used to tip his pitches really, really, really badly against the Mets. So I'm actually curious to see his career numbers versus the Mets. I think at times he's been dominant, but there was a stretch here, man, where the Mets knew what he was throwing. And it was when I was there and they were raking this dude. So I was like, man, poor guy is just literally tipping the crap out of everything here. Well, it's actually not as bad as I thought. He actually has a 3.86 in 16 games versus the Mets, but I bet that's a little different recently. There was some guys that were all over him. 2 home runs. I think Pete got a big one off of him, if I recall. But anyway, Hunter Harvey, son of a big leaguer, often injured dude. His whole time with the Orioles as a young pitcher. Finally got healthy-ish at times for the Nationals. 23 and 24, he put it together. 60 and 2/3 and 50 and 2/3. Then he ended up getting traded to the Royals where he didn't really play much. Now, last year, he pitched in 12 games. He gave up no runs. So you see the little small sample rankings. He was outstanding in the 12 innings he pitched last year, averaging 96.1 on the fastball. Believe it or not, that's his fastball declining. But was great. Was great overall, other than that. Tons of punchies, 2.6% walks, didn't give up a barrel. If he can pitch like that, that's a huge move for the Cubs. Yeah, look at the fastball velo in his career. 99th percentile at the very beginning. Now he's down in the 79th, and maybe he was the injury, so maybe that goes back up a little bit. But that's the biggest thing with Hunter Harvey is he throws hard. And he's got that split, and he's good at striking guys out, you know? Other than that, we have no idea how he's going to perform or how healthy he is, as he's been often injured. Let me... Yeah, I mean, just look early in the career with Baltimore. Six and a third innings 1 year, 8 and 2/3 another year, 8 and 2/3 another year. Like, he just couldn't get on the field. Finally, in Washington is when he pitched a little bit. And then, he ends up going to Kansas City, which was a shame because he looked like he was in tremendous form. I mentioned last year, it was only 10 and 2/3, 6 hits, 1 walk, 11 strikeouts, no runs. So Cubs are hoping that that's real as he transitions into their team. Let's go back, look at that bullpen again. All right, Palencia is now the closer. He's been the closer since, I don't know, about halfway through last year, maybe a little earlier than that. Throws 100. He's been their velocity guy when the rest of this team is mostly, more crafty types. Phil Maton, crafty type, really crafty type, but he'll be great. They'll match him up versus righties. He's good. I think Hunter Harvey might be better versus lefties because of that 4-seam split combo. So now you'll have a reverse split guy to throw into the late inning mix along with Thielbar, who's a salty vet at this point, but still has good stuff. Jacob Webb they signed, who was sneaky decent last year. Hobie Milner is a lefty matchup guy. Hodge is a righty matchup guy. And then Assad, the glasses man, as typically penciled in as a long reliever right now. They could be getting Steele back at some point. They actually have more pitching depth than I think a lot of people know. But in terms of velocity, this was important because, Porter Hodge throws hard, but other than that, none of these dudes really throw hard except for Palencia. So getting Harvey in there, if he can stay healthy, gives them another hard-throwing option, which will be nice in contrast to their starting staff. Boyd's not a hard thrower. Imanaga not a hard thrower. J-Mo's not a hard thrower. Colin Ray's not a hard thrower. So contrast is always good any way you can get it. And that's the thought process there. Plus, they're not paying him hardly anything. I think it was like 1.5. So for a reliever with his upside, that's pretty damn good. And obviously, teams are scared off because of his health stuff throughout his career. I know there are rumors about Imai to the White Sox. Is it a miss by a contending team to not try to sign this guy, even if it's just for 1 or 2 years? So I think that free agency it's just so misunderstood. I think unless you've been through it a bunch of times. And it's interesting because Imai's comments recently were about how he has no concrete offers and how, what's it called? And how, they're so loud in the background. And how interest doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get an offer. I don't know what his asking price is, but he's also gotten no offers. Right, to a certain point. Now the deadline comes, a lot of stuff's going to happen in this 2-day window very, very fast, and that's going to ultimately determine who signs him because we don't know where the market's going right now. We don't know what the price is. But yes, I do think it would be a huge miss by a contending team if he gets signed by a team like the White Sox and the contract is more than reasonable. If the contract's more than reasonable, he should be signed by a contender because this is the type of guy that, just from watching him, there's a chance that he's a big-time pitcher and he could put your team over the edge. So I'm a big fan of Amai. I love the reverse slider. I love how his delivery has improved over the years. I watched a whole compilation of how his delivery went from a lot more out of control to a lot more efficient the way it is now. He's an exceptional athlete, and I think he's going to be pretty good. He pitches with a good chip on his shoulder. At the same time, it wouldn't be bad for me if the White Sox did sign him and they had a little bit of a, just from a fun standpoint, if the White Sox had a little bit of a Japanese connection here with Murakami and Imai all of a sudden, now you have an exciting couple reasons to watch this club. They do have a little bit of a young core developing. Teal, Montgomery, Vargas, Murakami, I would say, is that core, plus some guys that are coming. I believe Jamie Arnold was a pitcher that they drafted. They have a couple others in the pipeline that are pretty good that we saw. They haven't done as much with the rotation. They did bring in Newcomb and Kay, who are both interesting signings. One guy who kind of pitched sort of starting, sort of relieving last year between the Red Sox and A's and Newcomb. And then Kay, who's coming back to the U.S. On his first real major league deal after pitching in Yokohama and having a really great season in Japan. So if they had Amai, that would be more of a high upside play. And I'd be excited to watch the White Sox more if they did. But I also do agree with you that it would be a little bit of a miss from a contending team if he ends up with the White Sox on a contract that another team could have easily afforded and could have used a little, potential boost to their ceiling. So I would agree with that. All right, Adam, how do you reinvent yourself when your velo starts decreasing? Well, the number one thing you would do is you would throw more pitch types. Velocity is a way of sort of bullying your opponent, but also there's a margin for error thing with velocity where you get away with more mistakes because you throw harder, but also it really helps you with it actually pulls up the velocity of all your other pitches too, which helps you with chase rate. So it's just simply reaction time, right? If I throw you a 89 mile an hour fastball down and away combined with a 78 mile an hour breaking ball down and away, you have a pretty good ability with that type of speed to go ahead and hunt an 89, but still have enough time to realize it's a slider and lay off of it. But if those two pitches are 95, and 85, well, now you have to gear up a little quicker to get to that 95, and your commit point, the point where you have to decide to swing, is a little bit earlier than if it's a slower pitch. So that lends you to making more bad choices when you have to commit a little earlier. The best hitters in the world who are short to the ball but also pack a punch, they're able to wait to make their decision a little longer than others. Any little amount of extra time you have to make a decision helps as a hitter. And so that's where velocity really matters. So as a pitcher, when you start to see that you can't get that chase anymore and you're not getting them to commit early anymore and they don't have to cheat for your fastball anymore, a couple things. Number one, expand your arsenal. Give yourself a lot of different shapes so you have ability to get off the fat part of the barrel. That's number one. So you see guys who start to lose velocity, all of a sudden they're inventing new pitches. They were four-seam guys, now they have four-seam and two-seam, or they have four-seam and cutter now. So they have a couple of different variations to get off the barrel. You also see them maybe go to something super slow to then make their fastball look faster. This was a strategy I used a lot. As my fastball and slider declined in velocity, I leaned even more into pitching backwards. 77, 78, then 93 or 92 or whatever it was. That's going to look a lot faster than if I start you at 92 and you're used to that pace and that's not very fast. When I slow you down to 70-something, then I go to 90-something, it feels a lot faster. So those are some things you have to do. Your command has to get better. I mentioned the margin for error piece. That's huge because that means you can't be falling behind as much. You have to just be better at the fundamentals, getting ahead, staying ahead, mixing it up, using timing things like timing variations, understanding effective velocity. I mean, there's many other layers to pitching, but velocity a lot of times is that get out of jail free card. Oh, I throw hard. It's hard to hit fast pitches, and I'm just going to trust my fastball. You can't do that as much when you're a sitting duck because your velo's dropped. But not all velo drops matter. You have to look at how the league reacts to it. Sometimes you drop in velo, but it doesn't change your effectiveness at all, and there's some other things at play. There's some guys that rely on their velo exclusively. And if they start to lose that, they're in deep shit. So that's kind of what you're looking out for, you know, when looking at a pitcher starting to lose velo a little bit. Where do I think a guy like his Savage's numbers end up? I have no idea. I mean, we've seen what his capability is, but this is it's a different beast. If he's going to have to make 25, 30 starts this year, let's just see. I don't really have any concept yet of how he's going to look over the long haul in a full major league season. It's a little bit of a different thing than the postseason. And also people know him a little bit more. So let's watch. I think he's got the chance to be very dominant. I don't think people will adjust to his style very fast, but I guess time will tell. As good as he's been, there's no guarantees in this game. You know, you got to earn it every year. How did I learn to pitch? Mostly my dad, probably, and then I had some pitching coaches along the way. But honestly, just watching the best pitchers. I think that's the key: is to study who's the best in the world and try to take some things from them. I actually think when I went astray a little bit is when I wasn't watching as much Major League Baseball. I was in the minor leagues, and I was so dialed in on minor league stuff that I wasn't watching what the best in the world were doing and emulating that or trying to draw from that. So I think, yeah, watch the best, understand that, it's about getting 1% better every day, learning about new concepts and implementing things into your game. Always maintaining your strengths or working on your weaknesses and stuff like that. But there's so many layers to pitching. But I think the genesis of it was just sitting on the couch watching the games when they were on TV when I was young and having my old man just ask me, what would you throw here? Why do you think he threw that? Stuff like that. That's when you start to figure out the strategy part of the game, which for me as a pitcher was one of the more intriguing and fun parts. I love outthinking my opponent in that way. Okay, so that is Mr. Hunter Harvey. We just talked about him. There's not a whole lot really going on here, except the Cubs are taking a shot. It's a low price shot at a potentially high ceiling pitcher. And I don't care a whole lot about his slider. It's okay. It's more about that fastball and the split for me. Does have the slider being neutral last year, just like the split. But you see the split, it's whatever. Just he throws hard. He's had a tipping problem in the past. Saw a lot of injury problems in the past, and we'll see how it plays out with the Cubbies. So they take a gamble, and he didn't want to wait it out. I don't think it would have been very smart to wait it out till March with all the names that we just saw on the list. So that's kind of how I feel about that. I know that Okamoto also has his deadline coming up, so I wanted to touch on that really quickly. There was Okamoto. There was an Okamoto, meeting with teams. What does it say here? The teams that are listed are Angels, Padres, Red Sox, Blue Jays. So let's go in the order of like the more interesting of these: Red Sox and Blue Jays. Red Sox just traded for Wilson Contreras, so I'm not sure this is a good fit. Let me look at the Blue Jays. I don't see this as a great fit either. I guess you could play him at third if you believe that he's a third baseman. Okamoto. I mean, because he's not playing first. He's not DHing. So if you believe in him as a third baseman, he could maybe be a fit here or in Boston. I guess that would be the move. I'm looking at him as a first base DH type. So that's where I see the Padres being a good fit. I actually really like the Padres as a fit. I still don't understand what they're doing or not doing financially, but I like the Padres a lot. Right now you got Cronenworth at first, and they did just sign Sun Mung Song, but I don't know. They could use a right-handed hitting DH option. He could play a little first. He could play third in times that they want Manny to DH. Kind of like Okamoto. We talked about him in relative to Murakami. This was the career stats for his 93 plus that we saw a while back, and Okamoto was better. He's a little more polished. So that's what you're looking at. Why are you taking my phone?
I need it.
For what? For music? Okay. Thought I had more Okamoto stuff, but anyway, he was pretty solid. He was pretty solid for Japan. Maybe we'll go and do a quick YouTube of Okamoto just to watch a little bit. I want to watch some recent ones if we can. Here we go. 2025. Kazuma Okamoto, baby. He hits the ball hard too. I'll talk a little bit about some of these questions while we watch Okamoto hit. How big of an effect do you think outlier release traits make to a pitcher's success? Huge, massive. I've made this point forever, but I think the angles are the missing piece of a lot of this stuff. You go look at Hall of Fame pitchers. How many of them had what you would consider traditional, clean mechanics? Not many, not many. A lot of them had a little bit of something abnormal about them. CC Sabathia had a little bit of an arm twitch in his load. Randy Johnson's just scary and huge and basically sidearm. That's a tank by Okamoto right there. You know, Maddox, it's incredible command, but also I think he hid the ball exceptionally well. You know, you look at some of the greats now. Kershaw has a hitch in his delivery. Verlander, outlier release angle. Scherzer, outlier release angle, honestly. Kind of an extreme right upshoot type of pitch. Sale, that's sidearm. You know, you look at Bob Gibson, he was hiding it, slinging it. Steve Carlton was kind of an outlier look. Very hard to be traditional, straight up cookie cutter, and become a Hall of Fame player. So I think the angles are a huge part of this, especially now as, you know, the approaches get better, the hitting gets better, the things like the traject. That's a tank off Bauer, by the way, just now that we just watched. So, like, all of this matters, but I think being weird is always a good thing, especially as a pitcher. So, yeah, your Savage's outlier arm angle, you know, Rogers, we talk about, who's a Blue Jay now. All that stuff helps, you know. The most traditional throwing pitcher I can think of that dominates in the big leagues these days, you know, is Garrett Cole. You could say Jacob deGrom, but it's extreme outlier, you know, extension plus low release. So yeah, it's a traditional delivery, him and Zach Wheeler, but then they have like crazy extension, so, and crazy velocity. So, like, you have to have such an incredible level of raw power to not be a little weird out there on the mound. And I think that's how I would answer that question. Kind of random, but if Dollander's home and away splits persist, do you think he'd be a deadline trade? Dollander's a tough situation, right? Because you can't give him up for nothing. Like, he's such a valued guy in the industry, but they're going to be like swarming like sharks to get him out of Colorado, no matter how poorly he plays. But then you don't want to sell him for like cents on the dollar. You want to get value out of that. So I don't know. Dollander's an interesting one. I think they'd be better off developing him and figuring out how to make it work than necessarily looking to move him. And if you do want to move him, you want to do it sooner rather than later while he still has 6 years of control still, and he's still young, and a team feels they can put their imprint on him. Oh, do I have the sound on super loud? Maybe I'll just turn that down a little bit. Sorry, guys. Okay. Did I have a pitching idol? I was obsessed with pitchers. Yes, baby. What? Cold? You have a straw? Oh, don't do that. You're going to spill it. Don't do that. I'll be done in a couple minutes, okay? Pitching idol. Yeah, I mean, I was into guys who had a lot of crazy breaking stuff, so I'd loved El Duque, David Cohn. Jimmy Key was one of my all-time favorites. Of course, I love Pedro Martinez and guys like that, and, you know, I love Josh Beckett. You know, there's so many guys over the years that you try to emulate or try to get better from. Those are some of the early ones when I was younger that stand out in my mind. I mean, I tried to be 100 different pitchers when I was younger, kind of a trial and error situation. But yeah, I mean, anybody who was crafty, I really appreciate it. He has to be good. He wears Barry Bonds' number for the Giants. I think Okamoto is going to be a sneaky impact here, so I'm curious who he ends up with. Angels, we mentioned just now the Angels for Okamoto, right? Man, look at this over the top angle. That's pretty sick. What's going to happen with Bauer? I saw that they're not bringing him back, so does he go back to Mexico? Does he try to Korea this time? I'm surprised he's not in winter ball, to be honest. I felt like he was going to play winter ball at some point. I don't know. He's just destroying this Yokohama pitching staff, by the way. I saw Anthony Kay give up some hits. That was Andre Jackson. We saw Bauer get clipped. I like this burnt orange jersey top that they have, too. You can see he's not a fast guy, but he's big, thick bopper. How many Pro ABs did I take? I think I had 27 plate appearances, only 2 hits. Nastiest guy? I mean, shit, I faced Lincecum, I faced Kershaw. I would say I faced Jonathan Broxton one time, and I had to go bunt off of him, and he was so freaking big, it felt like he could almost touch me from the mound. So he was a scary guy. Also, I remember they used to make us bunt in spring training on the backfields, and I remember the Marlins, who were the team that we shared a facility with, and we would face them all the time on the backfields. At one point, their high A rotation was all first rounders who threw like 95 plus, and they had a guy whose last name was also Harvey, and I had to bunt off him, and he was throwing like 98 at my face, and that was probably the scariest I've ever seen. Was I a good hitter in high school? Yeah. I raked, but the competition was weak. And I probably hit like 500, but the competition was weak. So I don't think I would have been a necessarily good hitter. It would have been curious to see if I just stayed hitting, what it would have looked like. I think I would have been like a power guy with not a great batting average, probably. I had some batting average skills when I was younger, but I think considering my size, I would need to have a little more thump. Who knows? All right, so we get the idea with Okamoto. I'm actually curious to look really quick, though, at the Angels to see if he would fit with this team. And then I'm going to say goodbye nice and early today because it's New Year's Eve and there's really not a lot going on. We'll make this one of the more mild streams. All right, so they have Shanuel over there right now. I mean, they kind of have room. He'd be an interesting fit. Just another righty, though. I mean, look at the lineup. Righty, lefty, righty, 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 righty. So it doesn't make a ton of sense, but they have room technically. He could play third. He could play a little first. You know, I don't know. I'd be very fascinated where he ends up. This is why I don't do the rumors, because like, who the hell knows? Yeah, I still have the doggy. But I don't know. I wanted to mention that his deadline's coming up soon too. So Amai and Okamoto, as well as Takahashi. Kona Takahashi is another one that's coming up very, very soon. Maybe by Wednesday we'll have a little more info. We should know a little bit more about Amai, or at least that will be the deadline day. So we'll see. But I think that's it. I think that's it for the show. I think we're just gonna do the 1 hour today. I mentioned it'll be another similar show probably on Wednesday. And then hopefully, I mean, what day is today? Today's not Monday, is it? Yeah, wait. Today's Wednesday. So Friday. Yeah, Friday, I mean. I'm sorry. I'm all over the map. So Friday. And then by the time Monday comes back around, we'll have some better guests probably coming through. So I don't know what today date. I figure I just worked that out in my head. I'm sorry, guys. But anyway, happy New Year to everybody. Let's see this last comment here. Blue Jays don't have a natural first base behind Vladdy. I think Bellinger Okamoto can make sense. That's true. I like him at third. They can always move Ernie over to second. This is especially in a non-Bo Bichette world. So we'll see what happens with the Jays. But anyway, take care. Happy New Year to everybody. 2025, what an interesting year for me. Not bad, just different. And 2026, I expect big things. So very excited to turn the page on this one. And, happy and healthy New Year to everybody that watches and makes this show fun for me. And so we're going to keep going. Like I mentioned, 130 live streams to this point. when we get to this point next year, I'll be curious what that number looks like. Could it be at 400? Who knows? It's going to be pretty legit, I think, either way. But thanks for hanging with me all off season, in the quiet times especially. And I'll be bringing you everything I got. I think I'm going to have 8 or 9 guests in January, so it should be good. All right. Happy New Year. Take care, everybody. Adios.